Welcome back to Nigeria 2015, continuing coverage of the general elections. This time, the governorship and state House of Assembly elections going on in many parts of the country. Well, we'd like to remind you that you could get across to us here today via our email. That's Nigeria2015@channelstv.com. You could keep your comment specifically simple. Just go straight to the point. And then you can also tweet at us using any of those Twitter handles you see there on the screen. And then for our UK viewers, well, Channels Television is now broadcast to them. It's known as Channels 24. Well, the station can be watched on Sky Channel 575. So don't forget, that's Sky Channel 575. Well, yes, indeed. You can also stay up to date, watch live election coverage and announcement of election results from INEC on your smartphone. You could do that. All you need to do is just visit channelstv.com or m.channelstv.com and enjoy 2 hours of non-stop streaming. All you have to do about that is just dial *229 *3 *5# for just 400 naira, and that's available only on the Etisalat network for our Nigerian viewers. Well, let me get back to Kaide Do, the Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of INEC. He's still in the Situation Room. Well, Kaide, I see people writing in here telling us about Oji Dominion, for instance, says there's ballot snatches at Ogbo Hill area of Aba in Abia State. He says that the state INEC shouldn't have allowed the efforts of the people to proceed effortlessly. But he's pointing out some infractions that went on in Abia. In cases like this, for instance, yes, you say that it has to be after the elections are concluded before such actions can indeed be reported. Does that mean that there are no cases whatsoever where if this kind of thing happens, elections can be postponed or cancelled? In what circumstances can that be?
Yeah, Timberlane, I hope you got me clear when I said it earlier on. I didn't say after the elections it can be reported. What actually happens is that the returning officer will take into account all those incidents that happen and take a decision on whether to invalidate the elections in a particular area or not. That decision resides with the returning officer. But all those incidents will be filed. And when they are filed, they will be looked at, and the returning officer will take a decision. But as a matter of general practice, INEC tends to cancel the results in areas where such things happen. So you don't be surprised if you find results being cancelled in places where you have ballot boxes being snatched or card readers being snatched or things like that.
All right, I'll have to let you go. Thank you very much indeed for speaking with us today, Kaide Do.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, so that's the Chief Press Secretary to the Chairman of INEC. But on the whole, because at the end of the day, results will be collated and eventually announced, yes?
Yeah, I just want to intervene this way. I appreciate what the CPS to the INEC Chairman is saying. There's a way in which initially I thought that he was being unnecessarily defensive. INEC has a new international status in town. The INEC chairman is now an Obama-certified chief electoral officer, so to speak. And so you just want to maintain that high esteem that everything is going on well. But, you know, the last point he made, very significant. Practically, when we're talking about a process, at a collation center, at the State Governorship Election Collation Center, even before you get to that stage, because there are stages, it's possible that reports will be taken from the returning officer, from local governments, and in these reports, there will be indications of where ballot paper was snatched and all that. Until you get to that stage, you can't abort the process midstream. It is at that point that it will be very clear for the returning officer, for example, to say, preponderantly, there have been a mess-up of this election. What am I supposed to return? But because of the possibility of contamination, because, you know, INEC is doing a great job in Abuja. Now, they take reports from their electoral officers, and they have confidence in them, right? They are not expected to second-guess them from their situation room at the headquarters. But stuffs do happen. And so, you then see a variance between what the people are saying and what those officials are saying. There is a discrepancy. People are saying, we didn't have a, and then the officer say, oh, everything went on fine. So go and challenge the results at the tribunal. And so if at every point in time, and that's the point I was making earlier, you call on the cheated, the electorally cheated, the electorally shortchanged to go to the tribunal. And then they get to the tribunal, and then they meet with all sorts of complexities and complications, including the possibility of the process being short-circuited, solely on the ground that, oh, your presentation was within time, 21 days. But you know, as an election petition tribunal, we're almost going outside the 180 days. So we can't go on any longer. As indeed it happened in the last season. If you're going to have those kind of complications, you can't but see people at the initial stage thinking that, oh, let's nip this in the bud. So you have a nip in the bud mentality or psychology. But I take the point that here and elsewhere, we have to continue to say, look, there's a due process. There's an electoral act. There's a rule of law. So that's where you're supposed to follow. Don't resort to self-help. But these are very tough sell.
Okay, Judy, let's get to some of these figures that we've got now. We have to start from where Channel's HQ is in Lagos. Looking at the number of local governments here, the number of expected voters here, that's over that's about 3.7 million expected to come out and vote today, but we'll see if that were the case. Then the number of ward and registration areas here, 245. But the candidates now, two leading candidates in Lagos for these elections, which are, if you saw the way the presidential elections went, they ran themselves close, those two parties. But then those are the two leading candidates. Should they give us the probability of perhaps who wins this one?
It's interesting. Lagos is among, we probably shouldn't say Lagos is where everybody wants to find out who will win. All the other states are as important as Lagos, but there's something special about Lagos. We are broadcasting from Lagos. Lagos is the most commercial center in the country, and we really want to understand who will be the next governor of Lagos State. Historically, Jimmy Agbaje contested in 2007 under DPA. He then had 114,557 votes. Then in 2007 was when the current governor, Babatunde Rajifashola, won that election. But what was interesting with the results, especially last results in 2011, was that across all 20 local governments, the PDP did not win any local government in 2011 gubernatorial elections. Now, what we have is, in the presidential election results, even though the APC won, out of those 20 local governments, the PDP won 5 local governments. And those local governments are Ajeromi, they won in Amuwu, they won in Ojo, they won in Oshodi Solo, and they won in Surulere. Now, those are the 5 local governments that the APC won. However, to win, the PDP won. To win in Lagos State, you need to win Alimosho. Historically, whoever wins Alimosho wins the elections, and the PDP has never won in Alimosho. That is what Jimmy Agbaje will intend to do. That is what he expects will have been done, because the elections have more or less been concluded, and we are waiting to see what happens in Alimosho. Apart from Alimosho, there are also 6 key local governments that will determine who wins Lagos State. We have Ajeromi, We also have Oshodi, Isolo. We have Ikorodu. We have Surulere. Those are also key local governments that we want to see who will win. Mushin, Koshofe. And whoever wins the majority across these 7 local governments will most likely be declared the winner. The challenge at the moment is historically the PDP has been losing votes. So in 2003, the then contestant for the PDP, Funshaw Williams, had 740,000 votes. 2007, the contestant then was Musili Obanikoro. He had 389,000 votes, a decline. In 2011, Adedosumu, he also had only 300,450 votes. What Jimmy Agbaji intends to do is to totally rubbish that declining trend. It will be interesting to see if that happens. The trend historically has been favoring the PDP. So you've seen PDP, a declining trend for the PDP, and you've seen an increasing trend for the APC. However, we could also look at some exotic analysis regarding historically the profile of all previous governors of Lagos State. I don't know if we have that slide.
Yeah,
ready.
Before we get to that, just talk us through the 2015 presidential election, the results in Lagos State, but local government area, because that's what is running through on this screen now. Will this, if they rely on this and then look back and say, well, given the way this one went, if they rely on 2015, or if they discount perhaps 2003 and 2011, will they be anchored on good grounds?
So let's focus on 2015 presidential election result. 20 local governments in Lagos State. The APC won 15 during the presidential election. The PDP managed to win only 5. The 5 that the PDP won, Ajeromi, the one in Amuwo, the one in Ojo, the one in Oshodi Solo, and the one in Surulere. Those are the 5 local governments the PDP won out of 20. Clearly, if they win only these 5 local governments again, that will not be sufficient for them to win this election. Only 5 out of 20 will not be sufficient. They need 2 things. They need to win more local governments, and they also need to win local governments that have high voter turnout. And those local governments we had talked about earlier, Alimosho, Mushin, Koshofe, those are key areas, key local governments that they need to win. Voting clearly most likely will have been concluded across those local governments. Yeah. Counting will be ongoing, and we await the results of these key local governments. For the PDP to win, then they have to totally rubbish the historical trends. They have to do more than what they had done in the presidential election, where they only won 5 local governments. They have to do more than they had done in the House of Reps election as well, that they also only won the same 5 local governments. So we see something dangerous that the PDP will not like. Presidential election results, they only won 5 out of 20. House of Reps, they also only won 5 out of 20. It is going to be quite difficult for them, not impossible, but it's going to be quite difficult for them to reverse these 2 trends, because these elections occurred within the space of the last 3 weeks.
All right, let me bring in the lawyers here and get your perspective on the implication of Section 179, who becomes a governor, as it has to do with Lagos State. How many local governments will they have to get here?
I have 20. To be a governor, you must get at least 13. You must have 1/4 of the votes, that is 25% of the votes in at least 13 states, and you must have the highest number of votes, because we have more than 2 candidates in this election, regardless of the fact that we have 2 leading candidates. If we only have 2, that candidate must have a majority of the vote. But if you have more than 2 candidates, the highest number of votes, and 1/4 of the vote, 25%, that is in at least 2/3 of the local government. 2/3 of 20 local governments is 30.
Are there indices that you could follow with that have been scientifically